There are times to sit back and think about life and wonder, what makes people conform? Why are there times when people don't make choices according to their own sense of right and wrong, but rather based on the influences of other people? This could determine how a person acts, what a person chooses to be when they grow up, or even everyday activities such as what a person chooses to eat. It seems that a portion of many people's lives are dictated by those around them. What is even more confusing and interesting to think about is that there are people who would rather be that person to dictate another person's life rather than worry about themselves. Naturally, nonconformity is something that I feel accustomed to, and each day that I live is another day to be myself. I'm a black, gay, pescatarian with natural hair. There's nothing about myself that I would consider normal, or in this case, anything to conform to. Most times I see people who fit into one or two of the categories, maybe three if I get lucky. I've never seen someone fit all four categories, and at one point in life, I felt upset because it almost seemed as if there was no one I could relate to. Now, I use it as my motivation. Perhaps it is my driving force to not conform. Most people who choose not to conform to societal norms don't have people to rely on as far as examples in most cases. In other cases, there are some figures that have made changes that have lasted a lifetime. Emerson states that some of the greatest figures such as Pythagoras and Socrates and Jesus and Luther and Copernicus and Galileo and Newton and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh have indeed faced criticism for their choices to not conform with society. But indeed, to be great is to be misunderstood. At various points in their lives, there have been times where these figures have been told to stop doing what they're doing, or even what they have done is wrong. To this day, each of the figures, whether it be Pythagoras or Jesus, Newton or Luther, or even Socrates or Galileo, are known today and were at some point misunderstood. But truly, society's misunderstanding of these figures is what made them so great. Other times, people choose not to conform for the sake of being themselves. For example, when it comes to my sexuality, I've been told numerous times that it is something that shouldn't be showcased or that I should hide that part of myself. In most cases, this is because most of the adults who know me feel embarrassed about it. It was so hard as a child constantly hearing that I wasn't normal for liking girls, and it was even harder pretending to be normal, or at least the definition of normal for those around me. There was a point where I realized it is better to not hide my sexuality and just be honest about it. Adults tell me to stay hidden and not to express my sexuality, but I choose to do otherwise. Mind you, I do not propose to write an ode to dejection, but to brag lustily as Chanticleer in the morning, standing on his roofs, if only to wake my neighbors up. For most people, it could be easy to conform, but for others, it may be hard. It sometimes depends on whether or not a person has that driving force to motivate them. When it comes to authors such as Walden and Emerson, it may be spreading their literature to those who haven't been reached. For me, that driving force is my personal happiness. Others may use their personal experiences as their main reason why they don't conform. Perhaps it is an evaluation of the risks versus rewards of choosing not to conform in their situation. There have been many instances in which a person does a certain action and they are punished a certain way, whether that be a beating, verbal and or physical, or even a lack of respect from the people they are close to. Some people have the mindset that those punishments or loss of people is required to reach their goal, and by all means would be willing to do it. For other people, it would be harder because they feel the risks truly aren't worth it. Looking at conformity, a person's will to conform is driven mostly by whether they believe the risks are worth it, or if the rewards simply aren't enough.